Systems without buy-in get bypassed. A system your team does not understand will eventually become a system that they work around. A system does not fail only because it's poorly designed. Sometimes a systems fail because the people expected to do it do not understand why it exists. This is one of the most frustrating things for a business owner. You create the process, you buy the software, you define the steps, you explain the workflow, you tell the team, this is how we're going to do it now. Then it works for a little while, maybe. And then slowly people start drifting. They skip steps, they create side conversations, they use their own spreadsheets, they keep the notes in their head, they text instead of entering the information where it belongs. They say, it was just faster this way. And then before long, the system is no longer the system. It's just one option among many. And the owner is left wondering, why can't people just follow the process? But that might not be the best question. A better question might be, did they ever truly understand why this process matters? I have seen this happen plenty of businesses, and I've lived it enough myself to know how easy it is to blame the team first. I think we all done it once or twice. The owner or leadership team sees a problem clearly. Something is falling through the cracks. The communication's inconsistent. The customers are getting different answers. Jobs are being missed. Accountability is hard to track. So the owner does what seems responsible. They build a system. They create a checklist. They roll out a software. They define a new meeting rhythm. They add a dashboard. They ask people to enter better notes. They create a new process that, from the owner's perspective, is clearly meant to solve a real problem. The team does not always experience it that way. The team may experience it as just extra work, another box to check, another system that will probably get changed in 6 months, another management idea that sounds good in a meeting, but just doesn't feel connected to the reality of doing the job. And when people do not understand why behind the system, they'll eventually go back to what feels faster, easier, just more familiar. That does not always mean they're lazy. Rarely does. It does not always mean that they're resistant. Sometimes it means the system never reached them at a level that made sense or connected to them. They understood the instruction, but they did not understand the purpose or the why. A perfect example of this is the Dutch concept called elephant paths. Elephant paths are also known as desire paths or unofficial user created trails formed by pedestrians taking the shortest, most direct routes. It signals a failure in formal, rigid urban plan or landscape things. And so what you're seeing is like you'll see a sidewalk that goes like this, right? And then people just walk across the grass here enough that it's worn its own path. It's called an elephant path. And these paths highlight a disconnect between planners' intended results or routes, excuse me, and the natural human movement. They just they weren't looking for the user; they were looking for the plan that they had in their head that they thought was most efficient. If you Google it and you look at the images, you will not be able to not see them everywhere. When I first became of these, I lazily blamed government cheap design as they were often civic or public areas that I saw them in. But as I reflected, they existed all over my business, where leadership failed to involve those doing the work and how they saw it. We would create this efficient strategy in a vacuum, or even worse, as our employees sometimes said, in our ivory towers. And we forgot that's to connect it to the people who are actually doing the work and really making sure that it meshed. And this is where owners and leaders have to slow down. A system is not truly implemented when it's announced, right? It's not truly implemented when the software is purchased or the SOP is written or the checklist is shared out. A system is implemented when the people using it understand what it protects, what it improves, what it prevents, and why it matters. This is the part that we often, to our own detriment, skip. We tell people what to do, but we do not help them understand what the system is designed to make possible. We do not connect it to the customer experience, the team's sanity, the owner's ability to delegate, the company's values, or the standard of work that we are trying to build. And then we get irritated when people treat the system like an inconvenience. Oh, right? But from their perspective, that might be exactly what it is. If a technician does not understand the detailed job notes protect the next person who touches the account, the notes feel like admin work or a waste of their time. If a salesperson does not understand that clean handoffs protect the customer experience, then the handoff feels like bureaucracy. If a manager does not understand that weekly meeting rhythm reduces confusion and rework, then the meeting feels like another calendar burden, something that could have been an email. If an employee does not understand that following the process builds trust and gives the owner confidence to step back, then the process feels like control. This is why values and systems have to be connected. The system cannot be just because I said so. That might create compliance for a little while, but it rarely creates ownership. When people understand how the system connects to the values of the business, the purpose of the work, and the impact on the people around them, they're far more likely to carry it with the intention. A good system will not only tell people what to do, it should help them understand how the business thinks and why this is so integral to the values in the fabric of the business. So the next time that your team works around a system, resist the urge to immediately label as defiance or laziness, whatever. Start with a better diagnosis. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, do they understand why this system exists? Or have I only told them what steps to follow? And then bring them in and ask the team, what part of this process feels unnecessary, unclear, or disconnected from real work? You may discover that the system needs a better explanation. You may discover that the system needs to be improved. You may discover that someone simply does just not want to follow it, right? But do not assume that those are all the same problem. They're not. They don't exist from the same place. If the system matters, connect it to the reason it matters. Try something like this. We are not doing this just to add another step. We are doing this because when information is missing, the next person has to guess. And then the customer feels the inconsistency and we lose trust inside the team. This protects that, protects all of you. That kind of explanation takes more time on the front end, but it saves frustration on the back end and really improves implementation. Because a system your team does not understand will eventually just become a system that they work around. I look forward to supporting you along your journey, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day and a wonderful week.